Have you ever wondered why some couples seem to grow even closer with age, while others slowly lose the spark they once shared? The answer is rarely about youth or physical strength. More often, it comes down to understanding, patience, and learning how to respond to your partner's needs in a thoughtful way. Hello, gentlemen. I'm Dr. Rose, a urologist and men's health specialist, and for the past 7 years I've dedicated my career to helping men over the age of 50 rebuild confidence, strengthen intimacy, and rediscover the deep emotional and physical connection they thought they had lost. Today we're going to discuss a subject that many men avoid because it feels uncomfortable or embarrassing to ask about, even though it plays an important role in many healthy relationships. Understanding how to use your hands with confidence, care, and proper technique can significantly improve intimacy, helping both partners enjoy a more satisfying and emotionally connected experience. Many people assume this is something every man automatically knows, but that simply isn't true. In reality, learning the correct approach later in life can completely change the quality of your intimate relationship. It can increase trust, improve communication without saying a word, and make every moment together feel more meaningful and enjoyable for both of you. Before we continue, I'd appreciate a small favor. If you find these discussions helpful, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. My goal is to provide practical, science-based guidance created especially for men over 50 who want to remain confident, capable, and connected in their relationships. Every video is designed to replace myths with reliable information that you can actually apply in real life. Now let's begin by clearing up one of the biggest misconceptions I hear from my patients. Many men believe that using their hands during intimacy is something so simple that it requires no learning or practice. They assume anyone can do it naturally, so there is no reason to improve. That belief is one of the biggest obstacles to becoming a better partner. Think about any skill that matters in life, whether it's playing golf, preparing a great meal, or learning a musical instrument. The difference between average and exceptional comes from technique, patience, and understanding. Intimacy is no different. A man who understands how a woman's body responds physically while also recognizing the importance of emotional connection is often able to create a much more satisfying experience than someone who simply relies on instinct. From a biological standpoint, your hands offer remarkable precision and flexibility. They allow you to adjust movement, pressure, and rhythm with far greater control than many people realize. Different areas of the female anatomy respond to different types of stimulation, and subtle changes in technique often make a significant difference in comfort and enjoyment. Just as important is the emotional side of intimacy. Women generally respond to much more than physical touch alone. They notice patience, they appreciate attentiveness, they recognize when their partner is fully present and genuinely focused on their comfort rather than rushing toward an outcome. In many ways, caring touch becomes its own form of communication. It silently expresses affection, respect, and emotional closeness. That is why the experience is about far more than technique. It's about creating an environment where both partners feel relaxed, appreciated, and understood. There are also practical details that should never be overlooked. Good preparation reflects consideration for your partner. Clean hands, neatly trimmed nails, and slow, controlled movements reduce the risk of discomfort and help create a much safer and more pleasant experience. Skipping these simple steps can easily lead to irritation or unnecessary discomfort because intimate tissues are naturally sensitive and deserve careful handling. Throughout my years working with men over 50, I've met countless patients who believed their best years of intimacy were already behind them. Many had convinced themselves that age automatically meant declining satisfaction or growing distance from their partners. What surprised them most was discovering that small improvements in knowledge and technique often produced dramatic results. After learning to slow down, communicate more effectively, and pay closer attention to their partner's responses, many told me they experienced stronger emotional connection than they had felt in years. Their partners frequently described feeling more appreciated, more comfortable, and more satisfied than before. Those changes didn't happen because of complicated methods or unrealistic expectations. They happened because these men became more patient, more observant, and more willing to understand what their partners actually needed. Over the course of today's discussion, I'll be sharing 7 important principles that can help improve confidence and create a more enjoyable experience for both of you. These recommendations are based on scientific understanding, clinical experience, and practical habits that men of virtually any age can remember and apply with confidence. Let's begin with the first and perhaps most common mistake I see in long-term relationships. Many men underestimate the importance of taking enough time before moving into more direct, intimate contact. They view this stage as something that simply delays the main event, rather than recognizing it as one of the most valuable parts of the entire experience. The reality is very different. A woman's body prepares itself gradually. As arousal develops, blood flow naturally increases, sensitivity changes, and the body becomes progressively more comfortable and responsive. Rushing through this process often reduces enjoyment and may even create unnecessary discomfort. Beyond the physical changes, taking your time communicates something equally important on an emotional level. It tells your partner that her comfort matters, that you're paying attention, and that you're willing to move at a pace that allows both of you to enjoy the moment together. Rather than feeling hurried, she feels valued. Instead of feeling like the experience is centered on one person, it becomes something shared. In practical terms, begin by focusing on gentle affection. Spend time kissing, speaking softly, embracing, and exploring non-intimate areas with slow, thoughtful touch. Allow anticipation to build naturally before progressing further. That gradual approach often creates a stronger sense of excitement, while helping both partners feel more relaxed and emotionally connected. I remember one gentleman in his early 60s who admitted that throughout most of his marriage, he always hurried this stage because he believed it wasn't very important. After making a conscious effort to slow down and become more patient, he noticed a remarkable difference in how his wife responded. She became more comfortable, more engaged, and both of them described their intimate experiences as being far more enjoyable than they had been for many years. The second mistake I often discuss with my patients is moving too quickly into direct internal stimulation before the body is fully ready. This is something many men never question because they assume that once intimacy has started, the next step should happen immediately. In reality, slowing down is usually the wiser approach. The female body responds in stages, and every stage has a purpose. The tissues become more comfortable as blood flow increases, natural lubrication develops, and sensitivity changes over time. Ignoring that natural progression can reduce pleasure and, in some cases, create discomfort that could easily have been avoided. Beyond the physical aspect, rushing also sends an emotional message. It can unintentionally communicate impatience or suggest that the focus is on reaching a goal rather than enjoying the shared experience. Most women appreciate feeling that their comfort and enjoyment matter just as much as their partners. When they recognize that level of care, they often become more relaxed, more confident, and more emotionally engaged throughout the experience. Instead of moving inside immediately, begin by allowing your hands to explore gently and naturally. Use slow, light movements around the outer intimate areas without rushing. Pay attention to how her body responds rather than following a fixed routine. Small circles, gentle strokes, and relaxed movements often provide valuable information about what feels comfortable for her. As excitement builds naturally, you'll usually notice signs that her body is becoming more receptive. Her breathing may deepen, her muscles may relax, and natural lubrication often increases. These signals are far more reliable than simply assuming enough time has passed. Once those signs are present, you can proceed slowly and gently if it feels appropriate for both of you. One couple I worked with described a remarkable change after making this simple adjustment. The husband explained that he stopped thinking about what came next and instead focused entirely on his wife's comfort. She later told him that for the first time in years, she truly felt seen, understood, and emotionally included in the experience. That single change transformed intimacy into something they both looked forward to, rather than something that followed the same predictable routine. The third mistake is believing that more pressure or using multiple fingers immediately will automatically create greater pleasure. This misunderstanding is surprisingly common, especially among men who have never received accurate information about female anatomy. The truth is that intimate tissues are delicate and highly sensitive. Strong pressure applied too early can easily become uncomfortable rather than pleasurable. Likewise, introducing more than one finger before the body is fully relaxed and receptive may create tension instead of enjoyment. Bigger movements or greater force rarely produce better results. In fact, they often have the opposite effect. Gentle control almost always outperforms excessive pressure because it allows the body to respond naturally rather than defensively. Emotionally, this is equally important. Trust develops when a woman feels that her partner is paying attention rather than making assumptions. Every slow movement communicates patience and respect. Every careful adjustment tells her that you're willing to listen without words. That emotional reassurance allows relaxation to replace hesitation, making the entire experience more enjoyable for both partners. From a practical standpoint, beginning with a single finger is often the most comfortable approach. Move slowly and allow your movements to remain relaxed rather than mechanical. Many women respond well to gentle upward motions directed toward the front wall of the vagina. But there is no universal technique that works for everyone. The key is remaining flexible and adjusting according to her reactions instead of following a script. If she appears comfortable and clearly welcomes additional stimulation, you can gradually adapt while continuing to observe her responses. Patience should always guide every decision. I remember one gentleman who admitted that he believed using 2 fingers immediately would impress his partner because he assumed more stimulation meant more pleasure. Instead, she became uncomfortable almost immediately, and the moment lost its natural rhythm. After we discussed the importance of slowing down, he decided to begin much more gently during their next intimate experience. He focused on relaxed movements, careful observation, and allowing his partner to guide the pace through her responses rather than his own expectations. The difference surprised both of them. His wife became noticeably more comfortable, her confidence increased, and the experience felt smoother, more connected, and significantly more satisfying than before. Sometimes the smallest adjustment creates the greatest improvement. The fourth mistake involves overlooking one of the most frequently discussed areas of female anatomy because many men simply aren't sure where it is or how to stimulate it effectively. This area, commonly referred to as the G-spot, is generally located a short distance inside the vagina along the front wall. While every woman's anatomy varies slightly, understanding its approximate location helps many couples explore together with greater confidence. The reason this area receives so much attention is because it contains a concentration of sensitive nerve endings that may contribute to deep, pleasurable sensations when stimulated appropriately. It's important to remember that every woman responds differently. Some notice significant sensitivity in this region, while others experience pleasure in different ways. There is no single response that should be considered normal or expected. The goal is never to chase a specific outcome, but rather to remain attentive, respectful, and responsive to your partner's individual experience. When exploring this area, slow and controlled movements usually produce the best results. Rather than using repetitive thrusting motions, many specialists recommend gentle upward movements that gradually increase only if your partner appears comfortable and receptive. Continue paying attention to her breathing, body language, facial expressions, and verbal feedback because those signals provide far more useful guidance than any technique alone ever could. As confidence grows between both partners, emotional trust often grows alongside physical comfort. Many couples discover that open communication during these moments removes pressure and replaces uncertainty with curiosity and connection. One man in his late 50s shared with me that he had always avoided this type of stimulation because he worried about doing something incorrectly. After learning more about female anatomy and focusing on slow, patient exploration instead of performance, both he and his partner described experiencing a level of closeness they hadn't enjoyed for many years. Their success wasn't the result of perfection. It came from taking their time, communicating openly, and allowing the experience to unfold naturally without rushing toward an expectation. The fifth mistake I frequently see is failing to pay attention to feedback. This may sound simple, but it is one of the most important skills any man can develop. Many men become so focused on what they think they should be doing that they stop noticing how their partner is actually responding. The truth is that every woman experiences pleasure differently. There is no universal technique that works for everyone, and assuming there is can lead to disappointment for both partners. Some women enjoy more external stimulation, while others appreciate a combination of external and internal touch. Some respond better to slower movements, while others prefer a slightly different rhythm once they are fully comfortable. The only reliable guide is your partner herself. Her body language, breathing, facial expressions, and verbal responses provide valuable information throughout the experience. Learning to recognize these signals is one of the greatest improvements a man can make because it allows intimacy to become a shared experience instead of a one-sided performance. From an emotional perspective, paying attention sends a powerful message. It tells your partner that her comfort and enjoyment genuinely matter to you. Instead of assuming you already know everything, you demonstrate humility, patience, and a willingness to learn together. That kind of attentiveness strengthens trust and encourages open communication, both during intimacy and throughout the relationship. In practical terms, don't hesitate to slow down and observe. If something seems to bring her more comfort or enjoyment, continue gently in that direction. If her body becomes tense or her reactions change, be willing to adjust. Simple questions spoken softly, such as asking whether something feels comfortable or if she'd like a different pace, can remove uncertainty without interrupting the emotional connection. One of my patients shared that after years of believing he needed to get everything right on his own, he finally began asking his wife for gentle guidance. To his surprise, those small conversations brought them closer than any technique ever had. By making minor adjustments to his speed and angle based on her feedback, she experienced significantly greater comfort and satisfaction, while he felt much more confident because he no longer relied on guesswork. The sixth mistake is overlooking personal hygiene. While this may seem like common sense, it is something that deserves far more attention than it usually receives. Good hygiene is not simply about appearance. It is an important part of protecting your partner's health and creating a comfortable experience. The skin in intimate areas is delicate, and even small scratches from rough nails or dry skin can cause irritation. Dirt beneath the fingernails or unwashed hands may introduce bacteria that increase the risk of discomfort or infection. These are preventable problems that require only a few moments of preparation, but can make a tremendous difference. Emotionally, good hygiene also reflects respect. It shows that you cared enough to prepare before sharing an intimate moment together. That attention to detail often increases your partner's sense of comfort and security because it demonstrates consideration rather than carelessness. Before any intimate contact, take a few simple steps. Trim your nails so there are no sharp edges. Wash your hands thoroughly with soap and warm water. If your skin feels rough or cracked, consider using a gentle moisturizer well before intimacy so your hands remain smooth. These habits require very little effort, yet they contribute greatly to both comfort and confidence. I remember one gentleman who honestly had no idea that his rough fingernails were causing discomfort for his wife. She had never mentioned it because she didn't want to embarrass him. Once he began paying closer attention to grooming, the difference was immediate. She became much more relaxed during intimacy, and both of them were surprised that such a small change produced such noticeable improvement. Experiences like these remind us that success often depends on mastering the basics rather than searching for complicated solutions. The seventh and final mistake is focusing entirely on physical technique while forgetting the emotional side of intimacy. This is perhaps the most overlooked lesson of all. Physical skill certainly has value, but without emotional presence, it often feels incomplete. Human intimacy is about much more than touch alone. Emotional connection influences how safe, comfortable, and relaxed both partners feel. When that emotional foundation is strong, the body often responds more naturally as well. Stress decreases, relaxation increases, and many women find it easier to enjoy the experience because they feel emotionally supported, rather than pressured. This is why I encourage every man to remember that intimacy begins long before physical contact and continues long after it ends. Maintain eye contact whenever it feels natural. Speak kindly and sincerely. Offer reassurance through both your words and your actions. Stay present instead of allowing your attention to drift toward performance or expectations. Your willingness to listen, observe, and respond creates an environment where genuine closeness can grow. One patient shared something with me that perfectly illustrates this point. He said that once he stopped worrying about trying to impress his partner and instead concentrated on simply connecting with her emotionally, every intimate experience became more relaxed, more passionate, and ultimately more satisfying for both of them. His confidence no longer came from trying to perform perfectly. It came from knowing that he and his partner were fully present with each other, communicating through patience, trust, and mutual understanding. That is the kind of connection that often becomes even stronger with age because it is built on experience, respect, and genuine care rather than speed or expectation. Now that we've discussed the most common mistakes, let's bring everything together into a practical approach that you can easily remember and apply. Think of these steps as a simple framework rather than a rigid routine. Every couple is different, and every intimate experience is unique. The purpose of these guidelines is not to follow a script perfectly, but to help you create an environment where both partners feel comfortable, respected, and emotionally connected. The first step always begins before intimacy itself. Preparation matters more than many men realize. Take a few moments to make sure your hands are clean, your nails are neatly trimmed, and your skin feels smooth. These simple habits reduce the chance of discomfort and demonstrate consideration for your partner's well-being. When you prepare properly, you're already communicating that you value her comfort before physical contact even begins. Once you're both relaxed, allow the experience to develop naturally instead of rushing toward a destination. Spend time enjoying full-body affection. Gentle kissing, warm embraces, soft conversation, and unhurried touch help create anticipation while allowing the body to respond at its own pace. This gradual buildup is not simply a tradition or romantic gesture, it has a genuine biological purpose. As arousal increases naturally, blood flow improves, muscles relax, and the body becomes more receptive to intimacy. Just as importantly, emotional trust grows stronger during these quiet moments of connection. They remind both partners that intimacy is something you are creating together rather than something that needs to be completed as quickly as possible. Patience often becomes one of the most attractive qualities a man can demonstrate because it reflects confidence, maturity, and genuine care. As you continue, remember that gentleness should remain your guiding principle. Begin slowly, with light external touch, and avoid assuming that more pressure automatically produces more pleasure. Give your partner's body time to respond naturally before considering any further progression. Continue observing her reactions throughout the experience. Notice changes in breathing, muscle relaxation, body movement, facial expressions, and verbal responses. These signals provide continuous guidance, helping you understand what feels comfortable and enjoyable for her. If something appears to increase her comfort, continue with that rhythm. If you notice hesitation or tension, simply slow down or adjust your approach. There is never any disadvantage in being patient. In fact, the willingness to adapt is one of the clearest signs of confidence, because it shows that your focus remains on sharing the experience rather than trying to control it. If and when internal stimulation feels appropriate for both of you, continue using slow, controlled movements instead of rushing. Allow your partner's comfort to determine the pace rather than your own expectations. For women who enjoy stimulation of the front wall of the vagina, gentle upward movements may provide deeper sensations, but remember that every individual responds differently. There is no universal formula that guarantees a particular outcome. Stay flexible, remain attentive, and let her feedback guide each adjustment. The goal is not perfection. The goal is creating an experience where she feels heard, respected, and emotionally secure. When that foundation is present, physical techniques often become much more effective because they are supported by trust rather than uncertainty. Throughout the entire experience, never underestimate the importance of emotional presence. Continue making eye contact whenever it feels comfortable for both of you. Smile naturally. Offer kind words of reassurance. Let your partner know that there is no pressure, no expectation, and no need to rush. Emotional safety allows physical relaxation to develop more easily, creating an atmosphere where intimacy feels enjoyable rather than stressful. Many couples are surprised to discover that these small gestures have a greater impact than learning any specific technique. They transform intimacy from a physical activity into a meaningful expression of affection, appreciation, and partnership. Those quiet moments of connection often become the memories that couples value most because they reflect genuine closeness rather than simple physical satisfaction. Finally, never overlook the value of consistency. Good hygiene should remain part of every intimate experience, not something you remember only occasionally. Keeping your hands clean, your nails smooth, and your movements gentle protects your partner's comfort while reinforcing the trust you've worked to build. When these habits become second nature, they require almost no effort, yet they continue to contribute to a safer, more enjoyable experience every single time. The combination of preparation, patience, careful observation, emotional connection, and respectful communication creates a foundation that benefits both partners. These aren't complicated skills reserved for experts. They are practical habits that any man can develop with awareness and practice. The encouraging news is that they often become easier with age because maturity brings greater patience, better communication, and a deeper appreciation for emotional intimacy than many people had in their younger years. Gentlemen, if there's one message I hope you remember from today's discussion, it's this: meaningful intimacy has never been about rushing, proving yourself, or chasing perfect performance. The strongest relationships are built on trust, patience, emotional awareness, and a genuine desire to understand your partner. Those qualities become even more valuable as we grow older. While physical changes are a natural part of aging, experience gives you something far more important: the ability to listen, observe, communicate, and create a deeper emotional connection than you may have ever experienced before. Many men over 50 mistakenly believe their most satisfying intimate years are behind them. After working with countless patients, I can confidently tell you that this simply isn't true. In many cases, the opposite happens. Couples who take the time to learn, communicate openly, and approach intimacy with patience often report stronger relationships than they enjoyed decades earlier. That's because confidence doesn't come from physical ability alone. It comes from understanding your partner, respecting her needs, and being fully present in every shared moment. Those are skills that improve with experience, not diminish because of age. So the next time you and your partner share an intimate moment, slow everything down. Focus on connection before technique. Pay attention to her comfort, her body language, her breathing, and the small signals she naturally gives you. Allow the experience to unfold without unnecessary pressure or unrealistic expectations. Remember that every couple is different, and every relationship develops its own rhythm over time. The goal isn't perfection, it's creating an atmosphere where both of you feel safe, appreciated, respected, and emotionally close. Those simple changes often lead to greater trust, stronger communication, and a level of intimacy that continues to grow year after year. I encourage you to practice the principles we've discussed today. Prepare thoughtfully. Be patient during every stage of intimacy. Listen more than you assume. Adapt to your partner's responses instead of relying on routine. Never underestimate the importance of kindness, reassurance, and emotional presence. These habits don't require expensive treatments or complicated techniques. They simply require mindfulness and a willingness to become a better partner every day. Over time, those small improvements add up to remarkable changes in both emotional and physical satisfaction. If you found today's discussion helpful, I'd truly appreciate your support. Please take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and let me know which lesson was the most valuable or surprising for you. Your questions and experiences often inspire future topics that can help other men facing the same challenges. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you never miss future videos focused on men's health, healthy aging, confidence, and relationship wellness after 50. I'm Dr. Rose, and I want to leave you with one final reminder. Your age is not a limitation, it's one of your greatest strengths. You bring maturity, patience, emotional intelligence, and life experience that simply cannot be taught overnight. When those qualities are combined with knowledge, respect, and genuine care for your partner, intimacy becomes richer, more meaningful, and more fulfilling than ever before. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take care of your health, value your relationships, and I'll see you again in the next video.